another symbol that the cross represents, which is the utmost expression of God's invitation to humanity and to each member of it to be transformed into the body of Christ and to share the divine life to the maximum degree possible. This is an idea that's been addressed by some of the great saints, such as St. Thomas, who said that God didn't need to submit his son to this horrendous death in order to free it from its debt of sin. So the extent and extreme of Christ's suffering is expressing the totality of God's giving himself to us and to the other members of the Trinity in their Trinitarian relationships. In other words, what is being expressed on the cross is the immensity of the divine love, or a category of that love that is beyond our comprehension. A sort of divine love, or agape, as the Greek fathers called it, is simply gift, is simply total gift of whatever one is. And since God is everything in a sense, or is infinite gift, he can only give himself totally without any reservation. So if the incarnation then is manifesting the interior life of the Trinity, the sacrifice of Christ as man and his death to be adequate to the source of the creative action must have been, was a submission to one of the most painful or agonizing deaths that could, that is possible. Add to that the psychological suffering of Christ in having to separate himself, at least temporarily, from the Father's love in order to identify with sin, which is the alienation from God, or the deliberate rejection of God. Perhaps sin is not the best word for the passionate, the faults of passion that are part of the human condition, but is much more of a serious rejection of God that comes from a certain deliberate and highly rational choice of rejecting God and of rejecting God's love that is possible as a free gift, but not usually the normal conception of sin. So sin has to be fully conscious and not just a notional idea of it, and fully deliberate, which are qualifications that, given our psychological knowledge, are fairly rare, but they're certainly possible. And since Christ identified with the whole of humanity and its sin, he has experienced then the consequences of the most serious of all sin, which is the rejection of God's goodness and love. And hence he felt abandoned on the cross, according to the testimonies, and died in a state of utter agony.